Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores a goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Steven Melendez, and I'm going to be bringing you the latest and greatest in soccer news from around the world. Welcome back, everyone, to your favorite soccer podcast. It has been a while since I've been here. I mean, I've missed 2 shows. I was dealing with a bit of a ear infection. It sucked. Wouldn't wish that on anybody. First time I've ever gotten that, and I hope it's the last time. But that is why I've been out for a week now. Wasn't able to do the last 2 shows. And I have a lot to talk about in today's show. We had so much going on. We got the Champions League kicking off. We got, obviously, a lot of domestic league action continuing. And it's obviously a lot of things going on in the table. So, we're obviously going to be getting into all that. And, of course, going to be ending my top 10 series of international players. So let's just run down what's going to be going on in today's show. Starting with the first part of the show, we're going to be talking about the Champions League round of 16, of course. I mean, the greatest competition in soccer or football, whatever you guys want to call it. It's going down. It's happening, and we've got a lot of interesting games. We have some upsets. We have a lot of, very fun games. And one big one that I'm super excited to talk about, we're going to be discussing that in the first part of this show. Second part, we're going to be talking about the Premier League. We got to catch up on all the games that have happened and then discuss the table, what's going on. Has Manchester City pulled away? Is Man United, Leicester City, is Liverpool maybe kind of, shortening the gap there? We'll see. We'll talk about that in the second segment. Third part, we're going to be talking about the other top 5 leagues. Bundesliga, see if Bayern Munich are still doing their thing. La Liga, see if I've seen a couple games. Atletico have been letting go. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that, seeing how that league is going on. Of course, Liga and Serie A, because, that race is getting real spicy. Can't wait to get into that. And then, of course, the last part of the show, we're going to be talking about the top 10 current Belgian players. Yes, we have finally made it to the number 1 international team in the world, Belgium. Of course, we got the Euros coming up this year. I believe we got some World Cup qualifications coming up. So I can't wait to get into any of that news as it rolls along. But yeah, let's just get right into it, starting with the Champions League, where we had 4 games being played so far. Of course, we still got the other 4 to play, but for now we got Liverpool versus RB Leipzig, PSG versus Barcelona, that titan battle there to see what goes on. Juventus versus Porto, a matchup that I expected Juventus to kind of breeze through, but you're going to find out there's something a little different that happened. And then the one that I think is the most evenly matched, Borussia Dortmund versus Sevilla. I feel like that's going to be easily the most exciting one out of this entire round of 16. Of course, PSG versus Barcelona, that has all the storylines with Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, if he's able to play. We know he's injured. But Borussia Dortmund versus Sevilla, I feel like that has the most potential to be, a historic, 2 legs. So let's just get right into it. We're going to start with Liverpool. That, in my opinion, that was the game that kind of didn't really have much going on. I mean, Liverpool were able to defeat RB Leipzig 2-0, but in all honesty, they got kind of, even though they certainly deserve that win because they were putting a lot of pressure on RB Leipzig, were making it very hard for them to get into their attack and find options. But the only reason Liverpool got those 2 goals is because of very poor errors made by RB Leipzig. The first one was by Sabitzer, who, just, I don't know. I mean, maybe it was the pressure that Liverpool were giving him, so he was afraid of losing it, so he just kicked it really quick, but kicked it, way out of the range of his defender, and it allowed Mo Salah to just get a free breakaway, and he scored with ease. I mean, you give a one-on-one opportunity for Mo Salah, he is more often than not going to take advantage of that, and he did just that in the 53rd minute, opening up the scoring in this game. And then after that, literally 5 minutes later, there was a long ball. It was like a long through ball for Mane. That was, I think it was Mukelele that tried to kick it and clear it out, but he dove when he really didn't need to. He could have continued to make the run, put a body on Mane and maybe gotten some help from his goalkeeper. I mean, regardless, it was kind of a tough situation. I'll agree with, anybody who thinks that, but at the same time, you can't, put your team out to dry and just take yourself out of the play if you miss that ball. That's exactly what happened. Mukelele went up and dove for the ball, tried to, kick it backwards, and he completely missed it. Allowed Mane to get another one-on-one situation against Gulaxi, and he scored. That's what's going to happen when you get those 2 world-class attackers in one-on-one situations against the goalkeeper. They're going to make you pay. And that's exactly what Liverpool did. So you got to, give it to Liverpool. They took advantage of those opportunities, but at the same time, RB Leipzig did not help themselves at all. Of their, I think it was 15 shots they had. 12 shots they had. Only 2 of those were on target. You got to credit the Liverpool defense, one that I've, had a lot of, question marks about because, of course, with no Virgil van Dijk and then having to make makeshift lineups with Jordan Henderson in the back and had Kabak back there as well with the 2 attacking fullbacks, mainly known as attackers, because Alexander-Arnold, more often than not, is not going to stop anybody. Robertson is a little bit better defensively, but he's not a world-class, shot stopper. He's not gonna, lock a man down one-on-one. So that backline's very suspect, but they showed up in this game. Same thing with Alisson. He made a couple decent saves. There was one header early in this game from, I believe it was Danny Olmo, literally super early on in this game that almost went into the Liverpool goal, but it hit the woodwork and crossed right along the face of the goal. Tough start for RB Leipzig, even though, they had a couple opportunities. And it's funny, both of those opportunities that were on target, or at least, that seemed to be their best opportunities to score, were at the beginning of the first and second half. So they got off to strong starts, but then after that, they just couldn't seem to get anything going. And life was just tough for them in this game. And they were not even able to get, a goal to at least make that second leg a little bit easier for them. Liverpool instead pick up their 2 away goals, and RB Leipzig have a huge mountain to climb now. But, it's not over. The way Liverpool have been playing throughout this season, RB Leipzig have been second in the Bundesliga for pretty much all year. Again, we'll get into that in the third segment, but anything can happen. RB Leipzig certainly have the talent. They have the experience. They have been, they've been consistently getting to these knockout rounds. They've been I believe they were in the semifinal last year, so they have that experience. But they certainly have a big time mountain to climb now with Liverpool up 2-0 after the first leg. Next, we're going to be talking about Porto versus Juventus. Now, this was the game that was shocking in every single way imaginable. Juventus coming into this game are obviously considered favorites. When you have a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo's pedigree, and then, of course, you're bringing out guys like Kulusevski, Rabiot, Chiesa, McKinney, Chiellini, De Ligt, Alexandro. Obviously Szczesny in goal. You're looking at that and you see a dominant team. I mean, I have said in recent episodes that I don't think they're the same type of Juventus that we've seen over, the past couple years, but they're still a dominant side. And they did not look it in this game. Like, they looked hesitant, they looked unorganized, unfocused, and that led to 2 early goals, one in the first half and another in the second half. And it's just, when that happens, it's just a clear lack of focus, a lack of, what is it that I'm trying to say, of urgency to really get off to a hot start, especially, it's not having respect for your opponent. That's the way I kind of look at it, because, obviously going into this, nobody was really, favoring Porto in this match, but by the way they looked in this throughout this game, even though Juventus were able to get a goal back, they still lost 2-1 to Porto. And this was a very deserving win for Porto. It wasn't like they got, some lucky goals. Sure, that first one where it was just a terrible, terrible pass back from Betancourt to Szczesny. But it's just, when you look at the way they were playing there, it just looked like they were just kind of going through the motions. They weren't really like I said, no urgency. And it led to Taremi kind of diving in front of Szczesny to put it into the back of the net. And that kind of like wrote the way this game was going to be going. And the momentum was pretty much all Porto. They were getting the opportunities. They had a lot of shots on target. And it could have easily been 3 or maybe 4 goals against Juventus, which would have been a incredibly tough, thing to match. Even though for Juventus, nobody's going to really expect them to be out of a tie, especially against a team like Porto. And it's no disrespect to Porto. They're a solid team, and they showed it in this leg. But when you compare that to Juventus, who have been considered one of the top clubs in the world for so many years, have a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo, no one's going to count them out. That's just facts. And in this game, Porto were playing so efficient. 8 shots, 5 of those on target. Obviously, they would prefer to get a few more opportunities, but they took advantage of the ones that they got. And the one in the second half, it wasn't, like a mistake on Juventus' end, even though the defense was surely lacking. It was just, Porto were just carving them up. They were just, the passing was so on point, and when they had the opportunity to really get forward in attack, they did, and they took advantage of it. For Juventus, it just kind of felt like they were not able to get into the final third. Whenever they kind of had a shot at goal from way outside the box, they'd kind of take it, and it just wouldn't really be efficient looks. That wasn't until late in the game. Chiesa was able to bring them back in the 82nd minute to get 1 goal. It was a really nice pass from Rabiot. A solid pass. I forgot who it was that passed it to him forward. But it was kind of like one of the only times that you saw Juventus really get behind the Porto defenders. It was that kind of game for Juventus. And it's just, I don't know, man. It really is a bad sign for them going forward in this competition if they are somehow able to, get past Porto in this round. When you're going to take on some of these other teams, if PSG goes through, we'll get into that later. It all depends on who goes through. I'm not gonna send someone into the next round before it's all said and done. But still, you're going to be taking on tougher competition as this competition moves forward. And this cannot be the Juventus teams that shows up if they want any sort of success. So we'll just have to wait and see. But they at least got that 1 away goal. So it makes it a little bit easier when they go to Turin. But still, it's, they're down 2-1 heading into that second leg. No one's going to expect Juventus to not move on. That's just facts. I mean, if they show up again the way they did in this game, which I doubt, because obviously now there's a sense of urgency, or at least there should be, you're going to see Juventus move on. But again, you got to give it to Porto to take advantage of those opportunities, be up 2-1, and have a very solid chance to get into the quarterfinals. Next, we got Dortmund versus Sevilla. Now, this was the game, like I said, that I was very excited to watch. I felt like this was going to be easily the most competitive round of 16 tie in the Champions League, and it was just that. Sevilla got off to a very hot start, really solid goal from Suso, and a really well-worked team goal. You know, they were able to get the pass. They were passing the ball well throughout the game, or at least throughout the early parts of the game, and they got rewarded with a goal early on. And Suso, struck it well and got past, who was the goalkeeper? I forget his name, Hits. And it looked like a very solid start for Sevilla, and it looked like they were going to, and going into this game, especially once I found out that Papu Gomez joined Sevilla, him, Rakitic, I felt like that midfield was going to be ridiculous. I was actually favoring Sevilla. I know Dortmund have incredible talent, but it's just been time and time again this season where their youth just seems to kind of let them down sometimes. But in this game, absolutely not. It actually shined in a big way, starting with Mohamed Dahoud in the 19th minute to tie it up with an absolutely incredible goal. I mean, he was kind of going from a right to left side in the midfield, cut back, scored with his right foot. It was a beautiful, beautiful goal from Dahoud. Something that you kind of would expect to see more from him, because you haven't seen that in the Bundesliga this season as often as you should with the kind of talent he has. But still, he got Dortmund that equalizer, and it kind of got them going. And really, most of that was started by Haaland. I mean, I'm telling you, the talent on this kid is incredible. I mean, even like it kind of boggles my mind. He's the one, in my opinion, that resembles Zlatan Ibrahimovic the most out of anybody. I never thought that you'd see someone quite like him, and he's really not Zlatan. He's got the talent to be, up there in terms of all-time strikers. But in terms of, like him being able to score in kind of like any way possible, he doesn't have that from Zlatan. But when you consider his height, his size, you didn't expect him to move the way he does, to have the skills with the ball that he does. And Haaland just makes so many magical moves and is able to, find players open and get by teammates. And, he can get the ball a little bit more down the field and make a play and make things happen for his team, not just score goals as a striker when you get him in the box. But I mean, it's not like he doesn't have that. I mean, that skill of his to just be able to get his foot on the ball and get it on target is absolutely incredible and lethal. I mean, you do not want Haaland to get the ball anywhere near the box. That man's going to score more often than not. And he did that twice in this game. That second goal from Dortmund was just, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The counterattack from this Dortmund team is dangerous. Haaland getting by players, passing it to Jadon Sancho, who then flicks it to Haaland, who's streaking through the defense, and then he slides right as Bono's trying to save it and kicks it into the goal. I mean, it was a ridiculous goal. I mean, just like the way that they were like working off each other was just so. It was beautiful. It was beautiful soccer at it's soccer at its finest, really, and really it was all worked from Haaland. Just his ability with the ball to be able to get by opponents, make them, focus on him, but then he passes it to Jadon Sancho. And of course, we all know Jadon Sancho has the talent to pick out teammates in a variety of ways. And that flick was pinpoint, and Haaland finished it, because that's what Haaland does. But then that third goal, right before the end of the half, you got the legendary Borussia Dortmund player Marco Reus heading up the field. He's got the ball. He's kind of, making guys commit to him. And then he finds, of course, the one and only Haaland on the right side streaking up. And when you got Haaland pretty much one-on-one with the goalkeeper in the box, you're betting money that he's finishing that. 100 out of 100. And he did just that for his second goal of the game, making it 3-1 for Borussia Dortmund heading into the half. Not the way Sevilla were hoping that this game were going to go. And that third goal was a terribly it was a terrible error from Rakitic, who passed it to Papu Gomez in the box. Not in the box, it was like in the midfield, but it was like with so many Borussia Dortmund players around him, there was kind of nothing Papu Gomez can do with it, and it allowed Dortmund to get on that counterattack. And it was like a 3-on-2 counterattack at that point. There was nothing that the defenders can do. Obviously, Haaland got open, scored the goal, made it 3-1, and it huge uphill battle for Sevilla to climb, especially with these 3 away goals making it. I mean, if it ended 3-1, I would put it nearly impossible for Sevilla to really, step up to the challenge and score 3 goals and not allow. Well, obviously, in order to go through, they'd have to win 3-0. If it went 3-1, they'd end up going to extra time and then penalties, whatever. But still, I just wouldn't see Sevilla doing that. I don't think they have that. I mean, they've shown time and time again, like in the Europa League and stuff, that they can do it. But I don't know. I just can't see it happening. But they were able to at least get a second goal, make that second leg a little bit more manageable. It was a really solid goal from Luuk de Jong, who I was surprised. I know En-Nesyri has been very solid this season. I believe they said that he leads the team in goals this year. So he's been solid, but I feel like Luuk de Jong has stepped up in those big-time opportunities to, come up with goals for Sevilla. So I was surprised he wasn't in the game from the jump. He was subbed in, subsequently got a goal for them, making it 3-2 for Sevilla, and like I said, making it a bit more manageable in that second leg, and we'll just have to wait and see if Sevilla can step up to the challenge and eliminate Dortmund, or if Dortmund's youth and experience, obviously like young players and their experienced players together can, come up and move on to the quarterfinals. But now we're going to move on to the big-time matchup between PSG and Barcelona. I remember hearing reading all these articles about, Barcelona sending a message to PSG with their huge win in La Liga. I mean, yeah, they've been very solid in La Liga. I'll give it to them. I mean, I think they've won like 7 or 8 in a row. They're obviously getting, into a rhythm in their domestic league, but Champions League is a whole other level, and Barcelona learned that the hard way. They got off to a strong start. They were, they weren't getting a lot of opportunities, but they had the ball a lot, and they were making it a bit tough for PSG to get into their flow of the game. And it started with an opening goal for Barcelona, a Lionel Messi penalty, and that penalty was real suspect. I mean, I understand, I remember seeing something like that in the Premier League where someone kind of just clipped even though the one in the Premier League was way more obvious, where he the legs pretty much got tangled and, he fell. But this one was he got his toe touched Frankie de Jong's shoe, and it allowed and he kind of fell. I don't know. It was weird. I didn't really feel like that was a legit penalty, but they gave it to him, and that happened. I mean, if PSG would have lost this game, I would be livid. But of course, that's not the way this went. After that 1-0 lead for Barcelona happened, PSG turned it up. Literally 5 minutes later, I believe, Kylian Mbappe scored his first of a hat trick in this game with a beautifully flicked pass from Marco Verratti. I mean, it was beautiful from everybody on the team. I think it was Marquinhos who got Kurzawa open on the left wing, and then Kurzawa passed it to Marco Verratti, who then flicked it to Kylian Mbappe. He got open and scored right over Ter Stegen. There was no chance for Ter Stegen to stop that. And that was kind of the theme of this game. It was Kylian Mbappe, finishing it for from really solid services to him. I mean, the PSG team overall was just playing so well. That midfield is so strong with Marco Verratti, Leonardo Paredes. I mean, it's so potent, and I feel like that is going to be their key to success in this Champions League, being able to control that midfield, and they certainly have the talent. And on top of that, I feel like the biggest difference between PSG and Barcelona is that PSG have the depth of guys that have been there, done that. Right now, Barcelona are in a transition, going from, the guys who have been there and have, had so much success at the club, like Piqué, Busquets, to going to youngsters like Pedri, Trincao, that, just don't have that experience in the big stage. And so when PSG has guys like, Idrissa Gana Gueye, who, he's not, I was expecting a lot more from him when he came in, but they sub him off at halftime for a guy like Ander Herrera. Sorry, I messed that name up, but Ander Herrera has had so much experience in the Premier League for Manchester United in big games, And, if being able to bring a guy like that off the bench is huge. And I feel like that kind of, gives PSG a huge advantage in this competition. And for them to get 4 goals in this game, and I got to tell you, Moise Kean, I believe that's how you say his name, has been so huge for PSG. I feel like he's the one that's going to eventually get that permanent striker spot when guys like Neymar and Angel Di Maria come back. And that's another thing. The fact that they didn't even have Neymar and Di Maria in this game, and they put up 4 goals on Barcelona. And I don't want to get too excited because I'm a PSG fan. I've seen this before, but there's just a different feel with this PSG team. The confidence that they have, their focus on wanting to have success in this Champions League campaign and just in any Champions League. It's not just this one, but before there's always like a sense of doubt, a sense that they don't feel like they can actually make it happen. And this time, it's just so much different. I just feel like there's no way that PSG is going to give up this 4-1 lead that they got in the first leg. In the second leg, especially at home, they got these 4 away goals. That is absolutely huge. I just don't see any way that PSG lose in the second leg. And yeah, it's just I'm super excited. I'm sure you guys can hear that through the mic. But yeah, this was a dominant game from PSG, and Barcelona looked like a mess. It looks like they need to go into a full-on rebuild. It's no, like that's it. There's no more beating around the bush. Just go into a rebuild and start this thing all over again, because they were great for so long, but it's just not the same. It doesn't feel the same, and it just isn't the same. So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Make sure you guys stick around, because when I come back, I'm going to be talking about the Premier League and all the exciting action going on there right after this.
Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? The GSMC College Football Podcast is your ticket to all things college football. Join us as we talk college football, from the national championship, the college rivalries, the bowl game, to the Heisman Trophy. To which conference is the best? We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, the Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between. Download the GSMC College Football Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back, everyone. If you missed the last segment, we talked about the Champions League matches that have gone on so far this past week. And now we're going to be talking about the Premier League and what is going on with Liverpool. I mean, I know it's kind of a negative way to start this, but it's just unbelievable what I am seeing from a team that going into the season had title aspirations, but are now fighting for their European lives. Can you believe that? I mean, I know it's been a while since I've talked about it. It's been about a week and a half since I've talked about the Premier League, and wow, how the league has shaken up. You got Man City absolutely pulling away, and in my opinion, that's it. They're going to win the title. There's no doubt in my mind they're going to win the title, even though 10 points can easily go away with 2 losses in a row. But who expects Man City, the way that they've been playing of late, to lose 2 games in a row? They've lost 2 games all season. There's absolutely no way they're losing this title. Man United have not been able to keep pace with them. They've got 3 draws and a loss in their last 5 games. Same thing with Leicester City. They got 2 draws and a loss in their last 5 games. A little bit better than Man United, which has allowed them to tie up with them. But it's just 56 points for Man City. Second and third place have 46 points. That's a 10-point gap with about 12 games left. So it's just, I don't see it happening. It would take a miracle for Man United or Leicester City to really, get back into this competition. But then you look at Liverpool. 3 losses in a row, and from what I'm looking at it, it's about to be 4, unless this is already kind of saying that's the 3rd loss, because they're down 2-0 to Everton late in the game. I think it's already in the 80-something minute, so they're most likely losing this game. So unless this is 3 in a row or 4 in a row, I'm not sure. Regardless, Liverpool have been in absolute shambles this season, and this is probably their worst stretch. To lose this many games in a row, especially during this very important stretch of the season, and now they're in 6th place. And if they lose to Everton, unless what I'm looking at is already an updated roster, an updated table, Liverpool is going to drop to 7th place, and they'd be 4 points ahead of Aston Villa, with Aston Villa still having 3 games in hand on them, which means they could easily drop to 8th. And I'm just so confused. Like, if this doesn't let you know how important Virgil van Dijk is to this team, but there's clearly other problems for this team aside from Virgil van Dijk, though that is a huge missed player. The defense is obviously a big time problem. They have the worst defense of anybody in the top 11 right now. They got the worst defense of anyone in the top 11. They're scoring goals at a high rate because they have the the 3rd highest attacking team in the league. But when you're not stopping people from scoring goals, it makes it very difficult. And I understand, not having Virgil van Dijk and making all those makeshift, back lines, just kind of changing it up on the fly is very difficult for Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp, especially when he doesn't have the players. But now they know they are missing a lot in the defense, because they were relying heavily on Virgil van Dijk. And when he went down against Everton earlier on in the year, you knew that was a problem. You didn't think it was going to stop them from being, in Europe, but you knew it was going to make it very tough for them to continue, to win back-to-back titles. But in no way did I expect it to have them outside of the top 5. And, unless they turn it around, there's going to be no European football for Liverpool next season. That is huge. What incentives do guys like Mo Salah, Mane, Firmino... Henderson is a Liverpool player through and through, so, they're not worried about that. Or even Virgil van Dijk to stay at Liverpool when there's no Champions League, not even Europa League. There's just the Premier League, and that's it. Obviously their Carabao Cup, your FA Cup, but still, it's players live for Champions League football. That's where the highest competition is. And if Liverpool aren't in that, that's easily going to be the biggest story of the entire year. All top 5 leagues, that's going to be the biggest story. The fact that Liverpool has just faltered week in and week out and has not been able to at least be a top 5 team. And when you look at the teams that are in the top 5, Man City, obviously. Man United, in my opinion, was obvious. Chelsea have been able to play a lot better of late. They got 4 wins and a draw in their last 5 games, which has allowed them to squeak into that top 4. So that was obvious. Leicester City, that is impressive, because they've also dealt with injuries, but they have dealt with it much better than Liverpool have, and they're in the top 3, and they've been in the top 3 for pretty much this entire year. But then you look at the 5th spot, West Ham United. Wow. I'm miles impressed by them. Of course, Thomas Soucek and Declan Rice have formed probably the best midfield duo in the entire Premier League. Bringing in Jesse Lingard on loan is a huge pickup. You got Lanzini, Fabianski between the sticks. Benrahma, Mikel Antonio's playing very well. And it's just, Yarmolenko off the bench, like they got a lot of great players. Mark Noble, the West Ham, has West Ham in his blood. They've got such a solid group of players, but nobody expected them to put it all together to have a top 5 finish. I mean, the jury's still out if they can actually hold on to this spot. Teams behind them are extremely talented. I mean, on top of that, you got Tottenham in 9th. I mean, 4 losses in their last 5. They've also been atrocious after their great start to the season. But you got Aston Villa behind West Ham. You got Everton behind them. Obviously, Liverpool, if they can pull it together, are one of the better teams in the world. But it's just, I give all the love in the world to Aston Villa to be able to to keep it together and really be one of the top 5 teams in the Premier League. That is not an easy thing to do. But before I continue talking about the table, I just want to quickly go over some of the games that I've missed. I've missed a week and a half of games. And talking about Liverpool, I mean, losing to Leicester City 3-1, that's not going to help. I mean, you got, and on top of that, Liverpool started off the game. Well, they didn't start the game off well, but they got the opening goal from Mohamed Salah in the 67th minute. I mean, Salah has been the guy for Liverpool this season. He's been their top scorer and has been their best player this year. But then they fell apart on defense at the end of the game, getting as Leicester City got 3 goals from their top players, James Maddison in the 78th minute, Jamie Vardy in the 81st, and Harvey Barnes in the 85th. That is 3 goals in the span of 7 minutes. That's atrocious. You can't, if you're Liverpool and you have the aspirations that you have, you can't allow that to happen. 3 goals in 7 minutes, that's just unfocused, just completely falling apart, and that's cost Liverpool. That game right there could easily, in my opinion, was the game where it was that, they didn't have a chance at the title before that, but that was the game where it was like they knew that there was no chance. But I mean, but at the same time, you look at that for Leicester City, that's a huge game for them. Staying in the top 3, beating a top team like Liverpool, that's huge. And then you see Man City, 3-0 Tottenham, like it's nothing. Get a penalty from Rodri in the 23rd minute, a brace from İlkay Gundogan. I mean, is there anybody in the world that is in better form than İlkay Gundogan? Tell me right now, and we'll have a debate about that, because Gundogan is on absolute fire. The man is scoring nearly every time he steps on the floor or on the field, whatever you want to say. I'm actually going to go to Manchester City's team to see what's going on here. And İlkay Gundogan is leading the team in scoring. He's leading the team in scoring. It's just, I'm at a loss of words there. I'm at a loss of words. Who would have expected İlkay, even in all competitions, it doesn't matter. He's got 13 goals to lead all players on the team. Phil Foden's got 11. Raheem Sterling's got 12. İlkay Gundogan has 13 goals. I'm just absolutely impressed with what he's done this season. He is a huge reason why Man City have been able to take it up a notch, because nobody expected him to be this good this season. He's just, and on top of him being able to score, very, very good, world-class goals, he's also got incredible IQ to be in the right place at the right time, and he doesn't make mistakes. That's the thing. Like, he missed a penalty, so obviously he makes mistakes. I'm talking about, just being in the right place. He doesn't make those mistakes. And then when you look at Manchester United, they had a chance to keep, with Man City, and they took on a team like West Brom this same week that Man City absolutely demolished Tottenham and 1-1 against West Brom. That's not going to cut it. I'm sorry. That is just not going to, especially they gave up a goal in the 2nd minute. Man United gave up a goal in the 2nd minute. And the rest of the game was all Man United. I mean, they had 7 shots on target of their 10 shots, 74% possession, 86% pass accuracy to 65% for West Brom. Like, they had all the momentum, but they still couldn't get that game winner after Bruno Fernandes tied it up right before halftime. it was a huge missed opportunity for Man United. And with that swing of 4 points there, with Liverpool, with Man City getting the 3 points, or I guess the swing of 2 points, Man City getting the 3 points there, Man United only getting a draw, that started the separation. Chelsea getting a win over Newcastle, Everton failing against Fulham. Like, how do you let Fulham score 2 goals on you? I mean, Everton only had 7 shots in this game, only 2 on target. Just an absolute atrocious game from Everton. And I know I'm kind of all over the place there's a lot to talk about, so my apologies if it's hard for you guys to keep up. But it's just a lot of these teams that had opportunities against teams that they should have beat, they just didn't take care of them. And I could say the same thing about what was the other? No, Arsenal took care of business there. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang got a hat trick in this game. Hector Bellerin scored in the 45th minute as well to make it 4 for Arsenal. Leeds United were able to get 2 goals in the second half, but were not able to get any more than that. But it's also a big time game for Arsenal to be able to to get a win over Leeds United, a team that has been pretty much right alongside them in the table. But before that, they had 2 losses in a row. That is not going to cut it. They take on Man City now tomorrow. From the time I'm recording this, they got and that game against Man City. I mean, that's going to be a tough game to win, and I don't expect them to win it. But yeah, so at least their last game out was a 4-2 convincing win over Leeds United. But then you got West Ham taking on Sheffield United, and they took care of business there. Declan Rice got a penalty kick. Our penalty goal. Issa Diop in the 58th minute made it 2-0. Ryan Fredericks in extra time, pretty much last minute of the game, scored to make it 3-0 for West Ham. And despite Sheffield United certainly playing a lot better of late, this was not one of their better games. And it's kind of getting a little bit too late for them to kind of like get out of this hole that they created for themselves early on in the season after having like 17 straight games without a win. Yeah, man, they've certainly played better of late. I'll give them props on that, but they have a 14-point gap between them and Newcastle, who are in 17th place, and there's no chance for them to really build out of that. Fulham, who have a win and 3 draws in their last 5 games, have a chance. They got a 6-point gap between them and Newcastle, who have 2 wins and 3 losses in their last 5 games. Brighton are also kind of playing better of late. 2 wins and 3 draws in their last 5 games of certainly, getting results when they need them. But like I keep thinking about when I was expecting Brighton to be one of the bigger surprises this season. If I would have picked West Ham, I'd feel so good about myself because I had West Ham as probably like a mid-level team, but I had Brighton as one of those teams that were going to be in that 6 to 10 spot, and kind of surprising people this season. That has certainly not been the case. But yeah, it's been a great year for West Ham, man. It's crazy how they just continue to put good. What is it? Performance after good performance, and then after that week of games, you had Man City taking on Everton, a makeup game for match day 16, and they took care of business there as well. So not only is Man City creating the space at the top of the table, but they're doing that by beating some of the top teams in the entire Premier League. It's not like they're getting easy games like against Sheffield United, Newcastle, Fulham, West Brom. No, they're taking on some of the best teams in the Premier League and absolutely dominating them. That is the sign of a champion, and that's why I feel like there's no way anybody's catching up to Man City. Because after that, they're taking on these tough teams now. That means they're going to be having some easier games. But, I mean, they do take on Arsenal. That's another decent team. Then they got West Ham. That's going to be another very exciting game. They got the Wolves. Another pretty decent game. But then they got Brighton. What's after that? Then they got Fulham. What's after that? Leicester City. That's going to be very exciting to watch. Then West Ham. No. I got the wrong team. Then Leeds United. Aston Villa. So, I mean, they're going to be taking on some pretty decent teams. They don't got any, easy games coming up. But I mean, the thing is, for Man City, it's like every single game seems like an easy game because they're the team at the top of the table. They've been playing like one of the top teams in the entire world. So if you expect them to lose any of these games, I don't know. You got some sort of crystal ball with you, but that's pretty much all I got for you guys for the Premier League. I'm just extremely shocked what's going on with Liverpool. Not really that shocked with Man City, even though early on in the season, I mean, obviously people who watch the games know about the schedules, know, that Man City were going to eventually get into a really hot streak and just get into a rhythm, and that's exactly what they did. And they've been playing great all season. I mean, it's that defense. I mean, they've only allowed 15 goals in 24 matches. That's by far the best in the entire league, and that is one of the main reasons why I feel like this is a different Man City team and a team that I feel is going to step up in the Champions League and really make and possibly win it all. I mean, I'm still leaning more on Bayern Munich and I'm hopeful on PSG, but Man City's right there. I mean, there is no other team other than maybe Bayern. I'd probably put Man City second, even though a few weeks ago I did a team of like the top 10 teams in the world, and man, did I put Liverpool that? Okay, thank God. Thank God I didn't put Liverpool that high. I have them 8th, so that's not too bad. But I had Man City 4th. I am rethinking that, of putting them in second place ahead of AC Milan and Atletico Madrid. I had them in 4th, but yeah, man, the way Man City just continue to dominate the Premier League, I expect them to dominate the Champions League. Of course, that is yet to be seen. We'll still have to wait until those games next week, but I don't know, or this upcoming week, I should say. But still, it's going to be a very exciting, rest of the season. The Premier League looked like it's pretty much, at least the title race, it looks like it's pretty much done. The European race, though, there is a lot left to be said there. That's what's going to be exciting for the rest of this season, so I cannot wait to see how that pans out. So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Make sure you guys stick around, because when I come back, I'm going to be talking about the other top 5 leagues right after this.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back, everyone. If you missed the last segment, we went over the Premier League, talked about all the action that I missed since my last show, and talked about Man City just running away with that title race, and Liverpool heading in the absolute opposite direction, not even in the top 5, battling for European football next season. I mean, just absolutely unbelievable. I'm still shocked by it. It's like I'm in the next segment, but I'm still shocked by what we talked about in the last segment. But now we're going to be talking about the other top 5 leagues. Of course, we're going to get into the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga, you name it. We're going to be talking about it. So let's just get right into it. starting with the Bundesliga, which has gotten a little bit of a shakeup since the last time we talked. Bayern Munich back-to-back games where they don't pick up a win. They just finished losing to Frankfurt, which is, you find a hotter team in probably domestic football right now. Well, I wouldn't want to say domestic football because Bayern, Barcelona, Sevilla, they're balling. But I mean, the thing is, Eintracht Frankfurt have won 9 of their last 10 games in the Bundesliga, with that one game being a draw. So they got 9 wins and a draw in their last 10 games, playing absolutely incredible. And to cap off that run with a 2-1 win over Bayern Munich, it's just incredible what they've been able to do this season, having probably one of the most surprising seasons in domestic football this year, with teams like Bayer Leverkusen, Borussia Dortmund, Borussia Mönchengladbach on the outside of the top 4 looking in. You got Wolfsburg in 3rd, Frankfurt in 4th. Those two clubs have just been in incredible form and absolutely deserve to be clearly in the top 4. I mean, they still got a few more, at least, I believe it's 12, 13, 14 games left in the season. So they still got some work to do. They got a 6-point lead on Bayer Leverkusen and Borussia Dortmund, 2 teams that can in any time get on a hot run. We know that. They got the talent. But when you're looking at the way this Frankfurt team is playing, and same thing with Wolfsburg. I mean, 2 pretty much identical. They have identical records: 11 wins, 9 draws, 2 losses. Wolfsburg have a much better defense, but Frankfurt's offense has been the second best in this league, tied with Borussia Dortmund. But it's just the way they've been able to just muster up win after win. 2-0 win over Köln before this Bayern win, 3-1 over Hoffenheim, 3-1 over Hertha Berlin, 5-1 over Arminia. They did get a 2-2 draw against Freiburg, 3-1 win over Schalke, 4-1 win over Frankfurt, 4-1 loss to Frankfurt in the Pokal Cup, but 2-0 win over Mainz, 2-1 against Leverkusen, 2-0 against Augsburg. They did lose to Wolfsburg 2-1 before this, this big time run, but it's just, and they haven't taken on the biggest clubs. Of course, Schalke isn't big. Arminia, Hertha Berlin, Hoffenheim, Köln, Mainz, those are all been Augsburg. Those have been mid to lower table clubs. But at the same time, you got to take care of business against them. And Eintracht Frankfurt have done just that. And then now they had a huge test against Bayern Munich and answered the call with a 2-1 win. It's just incredible. And now with that win over Bayern, it's opened up the title race for RB Leipzig to get within 2 points of Bayern Munich. If they're able to get a win this week over Hertha Berlin, they should have all the motivation in the world to get that win, and they should get it. But, of course, we still got to wait. But then, on top of that, Bayern got a draw last week against Arminia. Very, very poor performance from them to give up 3 goals to the newly promoted side who has struggled for most of the season. They're in a relegation battle. They've only got 18 goals scored this entire season. To allow 3 goals, it's clearly shown a problem in that back line for Bayern Munich. I mean, the problems were there last season. We were always talking about how Bayern Munich have love having that back line up high, almost at the halfway mark, or the half line, and it's been a problem, and it's clearly showing over these last 2 games. Now, I mean, I don't think in the end this is going to be a big time problem in terms of I still feel that the Bundesliga title is Bayern Munich's to lose. They're not, I don't feel like they're going to do that bad where they're going to allow RB Leipzig to kind of get up from under them. But at the same time, they need, especially now that they're in the Champions League, they need to shore that up. And but man, just what incredible play we have seen from some of these other teams, like I just talked about, like Wolfsburg and Frankfurt. Just the way they've been able to consistently get wins and put themselves in that conversation. They're only 7 points out from Bayern Munich with these 14 or so games left in the season. If they continue to play that well, Bayern Munich maybe drop a few more points, you can easily see one of those 2 teams in second place. and just behind Bayern Munich, giving them some pressure for the title. I mean, it's incredible to even think. I remember even talking about it earlier in the season that I did like a test about which team in the Bundesliga I should be a fan of, because I love having like I'm an Inter Miami fan. That's it. That's my hometown club. That's the one I'm always that's in my heart. And PSG is the other team that I'll always be a fan of in Europe. But I like having, a team that I enjoy watching and I want to see win in each of the top 5 leagues. So in the Bundesliga, I was like, which team am I going to follow? I did a little test, and it told me to follow Frankfurt, but I kind of tossed it aside. I was like, whatever. I'm not going to really, focus that much on wanting a team to win. It didn't really matter to me, but man, how excited would I have been had I followed that test? I'd be on the top of the world right now, but at the same time, huge seasons from both those clubs. RB Leipzig are starting to get it, going as well. 4 wins in their last 5 games, while teams like Dortmund have continued with their struggles. Same thing for Bayer Leverkusen, same thing for Borussia Mönchengladbach. Just have not been able to play consistent at all this season. Both Dortmund and Leverkusen have 2 losses and a draw in their last 5 games. Mönchengladbach as well have 2 losses and 2 draws in their last 5. So they've been even worse. It's just poor football from them. And it has cost them a chance to for any sort of title aspirations. Now they're just hoping that they can, play better and hopefully Wolfsburg or Frankfurt kind of fall off a little bit, or maybe even Leipzig, and they can move into that Champions League spot. But at this current moment, it doesn't feel like they deserve that spot. Next, let's move on to Serie A, where the race for the Serie A title just continues to heat up. Milan drop points. Who'd they lose to? They lost to Spezia. They lost 2-0 to Spezia, a team that have been near the bottom of the table. Yes, that kind of became their second win in a row for them. So they kind of found some solid form in that short span, but they have been one of the worst teams in Serie A this season. So for AC Milan to drop points against them when they are in such a heated battle in this, in this title race, it's poor. It's very, very poor from them. And on top of that, Inter Milan just continue to get wins. They defeated, Lazio 3-1, and now it all sets up easily the most important game left in the season, with AC Milan taking on Inter Milan for, the league lead, for the lead in this table. If Inter Milan can win this game, they would make a sizable 4-point lead at that top of the table, a lead that AC Milan has had securely for most of this year. Obviously, this is a big game for AC Milan as well. They need to get a win here in order for them to, just stay up in the title race. Because a draw would also kind of be, decent for both teams. Inter Milan keep their lead in the table. Milan, stay within a point. But then after that, you got Roma and Lazio 6 points behind Milan, 7 points behind Inter Milan. Juventus, who dropped a game against Napoli in their last time out, the day before Valentine's, with a 1-0 loss to Napoli. It's just not what you need when you're a team like Juventus, with obvious title aspirations, and they just continue to drop points. 2 losses in their last 5 games. Same for Roma. They've got 2 losses in the last 5 games. Lazio has been playing much better of late. But their defense is still a huge issue, and their offense or their attack just has not been as potent as you would expect from them. With one of the top strikers in the entire world, they just have not been able to score goals at the kind of rate that you need in Serie A. They have the worst attack within the top 7. That's not going to cut it, especially when your defense isn't a top defense in this league. It's one of the worst, actually. It's mid-table. It's the second worst in the top 8, just behind Roma, who have been very good in attack, but their defense has been atrocious. Not like last year. Last year kind of felt like their defense finally took a turn for the better. but it's back to the same old Roma in terms of not being able to defend at all, allowing 35 goals in 22 games, while teams like Inter Milan and AC Milan have been able to play solid defense while also having a very dynamic attack. And in my opinion, Inter Milan have been the best team this season. AC Milan have been able to, put a lot of great games together, and when they have it clicking, they're the best team in Serie A. But they just, at least over the last 5 games, they've got 2 losses, and they've gotten actually their 2 losses pretty recently. Because which team did they lose to? It was a recent loss, or am I mistaken there? I think I might be mistaken there. Yeah, because they hadn't lost for a long time, and then now they have. Yeah, they lost to Atalanta, and then they lost now to Spezia. Those are the 2 games that they lost over the past 5 games. Oh, and then they lost to Juventus 3-1. So they've now got their only 3 losses all season. They have in their last 7. They have 3 losses in their last 7 games. So they have certainly not been playing the same as they were earlier on in the season. Maybe it's starting to catch up to them with the way they were able to play. And Inter Milan have all the motivation in the world to win the Serie A title, to not be in even the Europa League. After failing in the Champions League group stage, they have all the motivation in the world to completely dominate this Serie A season and win the title. It's really their only motivation this season left. So it's just been huge for them there. But now let's move on to La Liga, where it's also getting very exciting, as Atletico Madrid, after playing pretty much impeccable football for most of the season, have 2 draws and a loss in their last 4 games, and that has allowed Real Madrid and Barcelona, who have been playing pretty much lights out football, to creep in within 6 points of them, making this title race an actual race now. I still believe it's just Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. I like Barcelona. I mean, they've won they've got 5 straight wins, but they really got it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, oh my God, they had a lot of Super Copa de España and Copa del Rey games of late, just like back to back to back. Like, they really want to get that competition over with, but yeah, I mean, they've been playing very well in La Liga. And same thing for Sevilla, who's right behind them as well. I mean, those 4 teams have really made the separation with Real Sociedad, Real Betis, from that 5th, 6th spot. Those teams are fighting for a Europa spot. The Champions League spots, in my opinion, are pretty much already said and done. But Atletico Madrid, with them, dropping points, it has certainly allowed those teams to really creep back into this title race. And in my opinion, it kind of makes it a 4-team race for the title. Even though Sevilla, no one's really backing Sevilla to win enough, and Real Madrid and Barcelona, Atletico Madrid to really fall to give Sevilla the title. I mean, that would be a huge story. I mean, and I'm still giving it to Atletico Madrid to win the title, even though they dropped, a few games over the past couple weeks. Even though that Levante loss was very, very tough, and the crazy, they lost to Levante and tied to Levante. So those dropped points were against the same team. That's insane. That's actually pretty crazy. But then they also dropped points to Celta Vigo. So it's not what you would expect from them. Even though Celta Vigo have been better this season from recent seasons, but and same thing with Levante. I mean, Levante, they're a top 8 team, and I didn't expect them to be there this season, like, at all. I had them as a lower table side this year, so it's not unheard of for them. But against Atletico Madrid, no one was expecting them to drop points in 2 straight games to Levante. But that has allowed those other teams to creep back into this title race, and it makes it exciting for all of us. So. Now let's move on to Liga, where we have another extremely exciting race between pretty much, I would say, 4 teams Yeah, because you got Lyon with 55 and Lille with 55, tied at the top. The thing is, Lyon lost one of their last few games, which has allowed Lille and PSG to kind of get the lead in terms of, they have a game on hand and they're only behind Lyon by a point. At least PSG are, Lille are tied. So if Lille and PSG are able to win their games, they're going to be ahead of Lyon in the table. But it's close. I mean, it's as close as it's ever been in Liga, in my opinion. And then you also look at Monaco, who have been extremely hot as of late. They're just behind PSG by 5 points, and behind Lille and Lyon by 6. And there is a huge game tomorrow between PSG and Monaco. That's pretty much going to tell Monaco's season there. If Monaco is able to get a win, they are literally right in the race. Only 3 points behind PSG and 4 points behind Lille and Lyon. Well, depending on what happens in the Lille game versus Lorient, I'm expecting Lille to take care of business there. I need PSG to take care of business here, to stay in the race. This would be a huge blow for PSG if they lose to Monaco. But yeah, man, pretty much the Champions League. What is it? Is it Champions League? No, yeah. Because only in Liga, you only get 2 Champions League spots. The third one, I believe, is a qualification for Champions League. And then the fourth spot is a European, the Europa League group stage spot. So, I mean, we need to be on the top of our game. PSG needs to continue to play well. Take the momentum from that Barcelona game into this one. Because this league all season is as tight as it's ever been. So, that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Make sure you guys stick around because when I come back, we're going to be talking about the top 10 Belgium players in the world right after this.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome back, everyone, to the final segment of today's show. If you're just tuning in, we just finished talking about the other top 5 leagues. We talked about the Premier League in the second segment. Then we talked about Bundesliga, Serie A, Liga, and La Liga in the third. And now we're going to be talking about the top 10 current Belgian players in the world. This is the last last international country I'm going to be doing in this top 10 current footballers for each international country because Belgium are currently number 1 in the world. I mean, they got a slew of players up and down the roster. They are extremely stacked, and I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think they're number 1. I think they should be number 2, slightly behind France, because I just feel like France is just has much more talent, from 1 to 20. I don't know. I feel like you'd see a lot more France players in a top 10 list between France and Belgium. That's just me, but there's still a ton of talent on this list, and I cannot wait to get into all of it with you guys. Starting with number 10, Yannick Carrasco. Yannick Carrasco for so long was an up-and-coming player. I mean, he's 27 years old now. He's like a winger, can play as a forward for Atletico Madrid, and he had a lot of potential early on in his career. When he joined Atletico Madrid, the hype was real. He just did, in my opinion, I don't think he lived up to that kind of hype. And then he moved on to the Chinese league, the Super League over there, which, I don't know. Whenever somebody goes over there, I kind of feel like it's an easy way out. You get some big-time money. You get to play against weaker teams, and, you kind of just enjoy your life over there or whatever. But, if you want some real competition, you come to Europe. And Carrasco did make his move back to Atletico Madrid. And when I first saw that, I was like, does he still have that same talent, skill-wise, to be able to go up against these top 5 teams? Or these top 5, teams in these top 5 leagues. Like Liga is, very competitive. And he has been able to make that transition. He has the flair that, you would usually want on a team like Atletico Madrid that usually lacks that. They have not lacked that this season, that's for sure. But Yannick Carrasco brings all that talent that you want from a winger to be able to get by opponents with ease, make that forward pass, and of course finish very elaborate runs with very solid shots at goal. You look at his club stats, he's got 305 matches played to go with 67 goals and 55 assists. And for Belgium, he has made a few appearances. He's got 44 caps to go with 6 goals and 9 assists as well. So you look at those stats, you can tell he can obviously, make opportunities for himself, but he also is adept at getting his teammates involved as well. That's one of the things I like the most about Carrasco, and he also has a very high work rate. He does get back on the defensive end and gets involved in in disrupting opposing attacking players, and just overall, Yannick Carrasco is a very solid winger. And that's why he makes it number 10 on this list. It was very close. I had some other guys that I was thinking about this list. One in particular, Ranja Nainggolan. I actually was thinking about putting him here, but Nainggolan's getting a lot older. He's not really playing the same this season. Carrasco has certainly stepped up and is a lot younger, so I just feel like he deserved to be number 10 on this list. At number 9, we have Toby Alderweil, the 31-year-old center back from Tottenham Hotspurs. Certainly is not the same level of defender that he was a couple years ago, but Alderweil is still one of the top passing defenders in the world. If not, I don't know another center back that can pass the way he does. I mean, I know there's a few, but like in terms of accuracy and distance, I don't think there's a better passing defender in the league. And on top of that, Toby Alderweil can also anchor your defense. He has done it for Tottenham for so many years, along with Jan Vertonghen, the other Belgium defender. Jan Vertonghen's just getting a lot older. I think he's like 33 or 34. Toby Alderweil is still, in his peak fitness. He's obviously on the wrong side of 30 at this point, but he still has, a lot left in the tank. He might not be able to hang at like a Tottenham level team, but can certainly still play in a top 5 league and be consistently good. He's extremely good in the air. His tackling is very strong as well, and he's also just an overall big player. Very tough to get him off the ball when he has it, and his composure with it is extremely good. With the experience that he has, he brings so much to any team he goes on, and that's why Toby Alderweil is super important to Belgium and what they do in the international level, and that's why he comes in here at number 9. At number 8, we have Axel Witsel, the 32-year-old center defensive midfielder from Borussia Dortmund. Unfortunately, this season, Axel Witsel is dealing with a serious torn Achilles tendon injury this year. If not for that injury, he would have gone a lot higher, maybe like 1 or 2 spots higher on this list, because I feel like what he does in the midfield in terms of controlling it, controlling the tempo, he's one of the best passers from that center defensive midfielding spot. He doesn't make wrong decisions. He usually always pinpoints, makes the right pinpoint passes, can make forward runs and be involved in the attack as well. But he's better utilized as a deep line playmaker, anchoring that defense in the midfield, helping out the back line, and then finding forward runs from that center defensive midfielding role. But he's certainly capable of moving forward as well and scoring goals. As you can see from his 512 matches played, he's got 72 goals and 36 assists. He's also got the most caps for Belgium on this list with 110. He's got 10 goals and 8 assists in the international level. And Axel Witsel has been an incredible midfielder for a while now. Unfortunately, it's his career. I mean, he does whatever he wants, but he didn't get into a top 5 league. Obviously now he's playing for Borussia Dortmund, but he didn't get there until the age of 29. He was playing for Zenit for a while. He went into the Chinese Super League for a little bit as well. But I mean, with the kind of talent he has, he could have been easily in a top 5 league and for one of those top clubs for most of his career. And now he's dealing with a very serious injury at the age of 32. Not sure how much longer he's going to be able to to continue his top level of play. But even with that injury, I still believe he's a top 10 Belgian player and is vital to what they do at the international level. So he comes in at number 8. At number 7, we have Thorgon Hazard, the 27-year-old forward / midfielder. He plays a lot of the winger spot for Borussia Dortmund. He's got 272 matches played and 216 starts to go with 57 goals and 67 assists. So, as you can see, he gets his teammates involved. He can also score goals on his own. But the biggest thing with Hazard is that, kind of like his brother Eden, he is a very flashy player. He gets when he gets his feet on the ball, he can do magical things with it. Gets by players with ease, and more often than not finishes those incredible runs with solid passes and scores and can score in a variety of ways. Thorgan Hazard has been on the up of late, especially for Borussia Dortmund, but this season he is dealing with an injury, so he also has not been able to build off his incredible seasons over the past few years. But I still believe Thorgan Hazard is going to be, a very vital piece to anything Belgium does over the next few years. And I mean, in terms of wingers, he's probably the best on this team. He's probably the best in Belgium right now. I mean, if you still consider, guys like Eden Hazard, maybe internationally, Eden Hazard still has it, but I mean, he's fallen off a cliff for Real Madrid. It has been very tough for him to get anything going. I mean, obviously he's still on this list. It's Eden Hazard. He's a superstar in the league. I mean, depending on how you're really looking at him right now. But in terms of production, Thorgan Hazard has been the most productive Belgian winger in the world at the moment. At number 6, we have Dries Mertens, the 33-year-old forward for Napoli. In 553 matches played, he's got 214 goals and 141 assists. Like, what an illustrious career Dries Mertens has had. And still at 33 years old, he's still one of the best players for Napoli and leads their attack night in and night out. I guess he also plays in that winger spot. I usually like seeing him, I usually see him playing more center, but he utilizes his speed and pace. Even at the age of 33, he still has pace to blow by multiple defenders. He uses that pace on the wing, so I guess you can say that Dries Mertens is maybe the most productive winger for Belgium at the moment, like I was saying for Hazard. But his ability to pass the ball, score incredible goals, has been vital for Belgium for so many years. I mean, he's got 94 caps and he's got 21 goals and 28 assists in the international level. So he's performed there as well. And he's just an incredible player. I mean, a complete winger. The only problem with Dries Mertens is just that he's small, so he doesn't really work well in aerials. He's pretty much a non-factor there. But if you have him on the wing and he's coming in, his pace, his technical skills will be are always going to be positives for your team. So that's why Dries Mertens comes in at number 6. At number 5. This was a controversial pick for me here because he has just been so bad since joining the Giants Real Madrid. But you got Eden Hazard, 30-year-old forward for Real Madrid. 3 years ago, Eden Hazard was one of the most sought-after players in the entire world. He was a superstar of the game, could change a game on his own, really, and was leading Chelsea to win after win. They weren't obviously he led them to a Premier League title and was just, like I said, a star of the game. But since making the big time move to Real Madrid, he has been a shell of himself. Obviously injuries have hurt him, but he is also, when he's healthy, he's also not performed the way he did at Chelsea. It's just straight facts. And had it not been for this poor run of form over the last 2 years, Eden Hazard could easily have been second on this list. He's that good. I don't see him over Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you guys know, it's no surprise that Kevin De Bruyne is going to be the best Belgian player on this list, but I don't see him being over him. But he had the talent and he was producing at a top 2 rate on this list. So for him to be dropped all the way to 5th, and possibly could have been even lower, I just couldn't, because Eden Hazard is still an incredible talent. His ability to hold on to the ball, his balance, his technical skills, his ability to score from pretty much anywhere, it's obviously still there. It's just the fact that he's not been able to bring it out at a consistent level is certainly poor. And there's really no other way to say it. Eden Hazard has not been the type of player that he had been at Chelsea, and that's why he's at number 5. But he's still an incredible talent. He just needs to find that form again. And at 30 years old, he's still got a little bit of time. He just hit 30. He's like about to be at the end of his peak. Maybe he just needs to move away from Real Madrid. Who knows? But yeah, Eden Hazard at number 5. At number 4, we have the biggest riser on this list, Youri Tielemans, the 23-year-old center midfielder for Leicester City. This kid can do it all in the midfield. He's been one of the most important players for Leicester City this season, with his ability to be able to control the tempo of the midfield with his balance, his composure on the ball, his technical skills, his passing ability, his scoring in really specific situations. I mean, obviously he's not a dynamic scorer. I mean, he's got 49 goals in 326 matches played, but still, Youri Tielemans has been an absolute dynamite player for Leicester City this year. It could go as far as to say that he's been probably their best player this year, with his ability to just be able to be on the field and play consistent every time he's out there. But really, there's nothing I could say about Youri Tielemans' game that needs... I mean, obviously, it always needs work. I mean, he's not a perfect player, but there's not one thing that he does poorly. He does everything very well, and passing is probably his best ability, but also his ability to get forward, make forward runs, attack space, and really make plays for his teammates. So Youri Tielemans is a very, very strong player and is easily the future for Belgium at 23 years old. Number 3, we have the 28-year-old goalkeeper for Real Madrid, Thibaut Courtois. Courtois has been one of the better goalkeepers in the world for so long now, and though his first year at Real Madrid was certainly a transition year, was not at the ability that we had expected from Thibaut Courtois, but he is still... But then obviously after that, the past 2 years, he has reestablished himself as one of the better goalkeepers in the world, with his incredible shot-stopping abilities, his incredible positioning. He's a very solid passer of the ball. He can do it all at the goalkeeping spot, and anybody would be lucky to have Courtois between the sticks. And that obviously includes Belgium, who, and still at 28 years old, he is considered at like a young goalkeeping age. That's young. I mean, if you're in the 30s to 33, that's considered prime for goalkeepers, and Thibaut Courtois is still heading there. So he's still got a lot of room to get even better, or continue to be at the level he's been for of years to come. And yeah, Belgium are extremely lucky to have a goalkeeper of his caliber between the sticks for them in the international level. At number 2, we have Romelu Lukaku, one of the better strikers in the world. In my opinion, I think he's actually the second best striker in the world right now, with his combination of speed, strength, and obviously his goal-scoring prowess. Romelu Lukaku it can actually get goals in pretty much any situation. You need him to make a long run down the field. He's shown that he has the speed to be able to do that. You need him to post in the box, and kind of be a facilitator. He can do that as well. His his duo, his tag team with Lautaro Martinez at Inter Milan has been impeccable this season, and that's why they're currently at the top of the Serie A table. He has been a huge part to Inter Milan's success, and it's crazy how far he's come from being kind of like a flop at Manchester United to now being a vital piece to Inter Milan and one of the better strikers in the world. And at 27 years old, Lukaku's still got years to go in his prime. And he's one of my favorite strikers, man. I mean, just like the things that he has been able to do, like literally just bully people with his strength, just wow me all the time. And I mean, he's got really solid passing abilities for a striker. And I mean, for a guy who can score at the rate that he does, it's just, you put that all together and he is one of the more complete strikers in the world. Number one, finally, of course, is Kevin De Bruyne, the superstar for Belgium, the best player in Belgium by far, and one of the easily the best center attacking midfielder in the world right now, and one of the better players in the world in general. I mean, if you're making a list of top players in the world, which maybe I'll do a list like that later, but I would probably put Kevin De Bruyne in my top 5, maybe top 3, maybe, but top 5 for sure. Kevin De Bruyne can do so many things with the ball. He is a magician with it. The ability to find players open in pretty much any situation. You need a through ball that absolutely cuts the defense apart. You need a cross that can pinpoint a player in the back post. Whatever you need, Kevin De Bruyne can do that for you. You look at his club stat, he has 552 matches played to go with 105 goals and 164 assists. Pretty much does it all. The only thing I would say is I would want him to be a little bit more aggressive for himself. I mean, certainly he gets his teammates open, but he maybe tries to look for his teammates a little bit too much. Like, there's times when he could have taken shot, because I'm paying a lot more attention to the Premier League than I am other leagues. So I see a lot of Kevin De Bruyne's game. Obviously, it sucks that he's injured at the moment. He should be coming back pretty soon. But, I mean, and really, now that I think about it, it's just insane what Man City has been able to do without De Bruyne. But still, there's times when De Bruyne can easily take a shot, but he prefers to try to get his teammates open. He's very, selfless, but maybe to a fault. And if he can maybe look for a shot a little bit more, it would make him probably the best player in the entire world. But still, he's, just a dynamite playmaker, probably the best playmaker in the entire world. And he does it for Belgium as well. 78 caps, 20 goals, 37 assists. He can do it all, and he does it on a regular basis. Kevin De Bruyne is the best Belgian player in the world. So that's going to wrap it up for this show. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm so happy to finally be back here talking with you guys. It's after a little break there. But as always, thank you for listening to the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I would really appreciate it. Thank you and have a great night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.